Hi crafty friend, it's Justine Dvorak from Stationery by Justine, where when I craft my world stands still. Today I'm going to use the Stamp and Paint One Happy Bouquet stamp from Altenew to watercolor on black watercolor paper. I'm going to use metallic watercolors to do that. So first I'm using clear Versamark ink, stamping my gorgeous florals directly onto my watercolor. I'm going to show 5 different tips, or show and tell 5 different tips to make watercoloring on black cardstock with metallic inks super easy, gorgeous, and enjoyable. I'm going to stamp this 2 times because if you know anything about clear embossing ink, you know that sometimes 2 impressions can be helpful. Just make sure your paper doesn't move if you do that. Set that off to the side. Now I'm going to grab some embossing powder. Now my black cardstock is thick. And thick. So this paper can handle a little bit of a heat gun moment here. I'm going to use silver embossing powder, and this is going to create such a pretty look. Honestly, if you just did this, it would be a gorgeous card. Let's look at what it looks like with the heat gun. Are you ready? Here we go. Anytime you use a heat gun, make sure that you are careful. It is hot. It's going to start to turn here. Now, if you don't know about black watercolor paper, let me just remind you that, or tell you, that it is thicker sometimes usually than regular cardstock. It can be like 200 pound, or it can be up to 250, 300 pounds. So it is thick, super thick paper. So when you are working, you're just going to want to make sure that you are using water. And with watercolors, you always have to kind of test and learn as you go. But if you have metallic watercolor paints like I'm showing now, these are from Altenew, I will be showing very soon. They look so good with black watercolor paper. So I recommend if you pick up some metallic paints or use black paper, first of all, prep your paint by spraying off to the side and get them nice and wet. They need time to moisten up. I know that word is weird, but they need time to kind of activate and get going. And if you are brand new to watercoloring with metallics, grab a little piece of the black paper and just test out your colors so you know what you're working with. I know what I'm kind of working with and doing here, so I'm going in with this first color. And I am just treating this like I would if I were watercoloring. It leaves such a stunning, sparkly color behind when you are using watercolors and metallics. So I definitely recommend giving it a try if you have not yet and you like shiny things. Or black. I love black, so this is right up my alley. I'm going in, and sometimes when you use metallic watercolor paints, you're going to want to do layers. So my first tip was to prep the paper. So I went in with a dry paper, but not dry paper, a wet paper. You can see all over my card there is a spritz to it. So just by lightly dampening the black cardstock can help control the absorption of the water, because black cardstock loves water. I don't know what it is. It must be some of the dyes that they use to make it black, but it just sucks in all the water. So you're going to need to work kind of with a wet on wet technique here. Then also applying thin layers can help make your color gradually get nice and dark. I like to leave a little bit black like I would if I were using white paper. I like to leave a little bit white to show more of like the highlight areas. Then you're going to always want to keep an eye on how your color is moving. So controlling the water is very important. That is my third tip for you. You want to avoid using a ton of water because you don't want your paper to warp and get weird. A way to do that is just to keep water off to the side. You do not see a big cup of water or a bowl of water in this video today. I just have a little bit spritz off to the side on my palette, and I'm just using the water that is in the paint palette that I sprayed in. So it's not crazy wet. When things get very wet on paper, it can warp. The black cardstock, like I said, the watercolor cardstock is very thick. So it will take quite a bit for it to move around, but it will move if you get it wet enough. Now, whenever you're using different colors, you want to make sure that they don't touch each other unless you want them to blend. So right now, my red is right next to my green, and if I wanted to ensure that they did not mix, I could wait until my green is dry, or you can do a little life hack like what I'm using is the silver embossing powder works like a little border, and it says, nope, no colors coming across this border, and it's like a wall. So the red is staying in the red flower room, and the green is staying on the green area, and it's not letting them mix. But if you want them to mix, the metallic paint palette that I'm using here from Altenew is so gorgeous, making your own colors. So if you get extra fancy and you want to mix colors, you go ahead and you do that. But like I said, test your colors. Now, my fifth tip is going to be adding highlights. So you can go ahead and let your entire piece dry and go back and add highlights. I'm going to show that here in about 20 seconds, so bear with me. But you can add highlights in two different ways. The first way you can use is using the white that is on the top right side of the palette, which is a white paint, or you can let it dry and use a white gel pen or a white paint pen and add highlights. Or you can use the yellow, which is what I'm doing right now. Ta-da! You can see things have dried. I want it to be nice and intense on some spots, so I just added a little bit of red back to it. I'm dabbing off any extra liquid that is on my blue flowers there, and I'm going to add beautiful pops of this golden yellow right into the centers there. And just adding a little bit of the highlights on the centers of the flower, make it look extra special. Another way to do that would be to add embellishments into the centers of flowers. If you've watched my videos, you know I love adding embellishments to flowers. Here I go in with the tulip, adding layers, which was again one of my tips from before. But adding layers with color or using the same color and intensifying it can really give such a cool look to your projects. But as always, with everything that is in your craft room, I would like to encourage you to experiment and try it out. Side note, I'm using a sentiment from this stunning stamp set called Flourishing Bouquet. It is full of really amazing sentiments. This one will be very simple with some white cardstock, so as I stamp that out, I'm going to chat through some of my favorite little advice for you for watercolor. Try playing with your watercolors. Get some regular paper, white, cream, black, whatever you have on hand, and just play around. Notice the dry time. Notice how the blends work with different colors, and just see what works and how you like it. Try a wet on wet technique, which is wet paper, wet brush. Try a dry on wet technique, which would be dry paper, wet brush. Try a wet paper, dry brush. It's very interesting just to see how the paint works with different amounts of moisture and different amounts of intensity of color. So try it out. Sometimes my best advice would be for watercolor is to walk away or put the paintbrush down, my friend. Leave it. Sometimes you might feel like me, where you might feel like you have to sit and putz. And, oh, this just needs just a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And then all of a sudden, it's too much, which sometimes can happen. And if that happens, just try again. So my best advice would be to just have fun with your watercolors. I will link the materials that I used here on today's video in the description. They are affiliate links, so thank you very much for using those if you do. Be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you are aware of videos that I post, and we will see you in my next video. And if you have a tip that I did not mention in this video, please leave it in the comments below. We're all about lifelong learning here, so add it to the comments. And if you learned something, let me know that in the comments as well. I love to know that something might have sparked with you or stuck with you today. So what was interesting? Thank you again for watching, and we'll see you later. Bye, crafty friend.